What is up, all of you awesome and amazing people on YouTube? The old Coot here coming at you with another exciting video showing everybody my handy dandy cilantro parsley sauce. You could do this with only parsley if you wanted to. You could do this with only cilantro if you want to do. But I find the combination of the two is very nice. It's got a very nice, bright, grassy flavor. At the same time, you get a punch from the lemon, the horseradish, and the capers. And then you get this nice, flavorful, zesty zing with the onion, salt, pepper. You get the idea. This goes well with almost anything. Like I can even put this on some sourdough bread and it's just absolutely delicious. It's very similar to a chimichurri, if you're familiar with the Argentinian cuisine, you know, the gauchos and all that good stuff. Similar, but not. It's like it's the same, but not. But anyways, close. Anyways, we have some beef that's cooking in the oven right now, 275. I'm going to let this go for about 2 hours or so before I do a temperature reading. But that's how I'm going to serve it for Christmas Eve, which is tomorrow. And New Year's, you know, it's a good roast to make any time of the year. If you're watching this like in March and you're like, hey, should I make this in? Yes, you can make it any time of the year. But this sauce is boss. Okay, so let me get into it. Today, also, we're going to feature this Zule lemon squeezer juicer thing. Usually I use this one. This is the Chefin version, which is kind of like a, you know, a mechanical leverage type thing where you put your lemon in there and you squeeze it. But sometimes you have smaller lemons. So what I like about the Zule is that, here, let me go ahead and switch camera rigs here so I can show you real quick. Okay, so what I like about the Zule is that it does come with two different sizes built in. So if you're going to use a bigger lemon, right, you put your bigger lemon in there. If you're going to be using a smaller thing, like if you're squeezing like a kumquat, or if you're squeezing like, you know, something like a smaller little tangerine, or you're squeezing a small, you know, orange, there you go. You got two different sizes. So great little tool. Just wanted to give them a quick shout out to Zule. They do make great products. Here's the box if you want to go ahead and check that out. So there's your box, lemon lime squeezer, you get the idea, and then there's your packaging and everything else. Good little company. I did a review the other day on their milk frother, right? Milk frother thing, which is also great. I used it to make an omelet. So, you know, be diverse. Use whatever you want to use. But anyways, there's the company there's the info for the company if you want to go ahead and check that out. Scan the QR code and all that good stuff. It seems very well made. You know, the difference between the two, if you want to just take a look real quick. This one is more of like a ABS type plastic. And then I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's like an ABS type plastic. This, I believe, is like stainless or aluminum. Whereas this feels like cast. This feels like enameled cast iron, you know, kind of a vibe to it. So very well built, very nice. Anyways, let's get into this video. So the sauce is boss, right? I'm going to run through some other tools that we're going to be using. Always a good idea to have a good knife. This is a 12-inch Victorinox chef knife. I love this thing. It's very handy in my hand. I know how to use it. And I use it very well. Okay, so then you have a good zester, right, or a microplane. I did put a link down below to the American version of the microplane. This one I got in Italy. This one is by that company right there, if you can see that. It was very hard to find this thing online. If you do happen to find a link, post it down in the description section, and then I'll add it to the regular section. Then it's a good idea to always have like some kind of silicone spatula, just so you have, you know, something like this where you can actually like scrape down the sides of your, you know, food processor. A good set of spoons, if you can find a good set of like measuring spoons and that kind of vibe. Also a good set of measuring cups is important. This one, in particular measuring cup that I've had, has seen better days. It's got a crack in the bottom, so I try to use it for just dry ingredients only. But you do want to measure out your things. You know, once you start doing this after a while, then you'll get used to like, you know, a handful is this, and like, you know, a pinch of salt is that. You know, it's a pinch of salt equals like how many, you know, of these or whatever. You know, you get the idea. Also, food processor. This is a Cuisinart. It's a good idea to get a really good food processor. You want one that's going to hold up to the test of time. Spend the money. Trust me, you can't go wrong because these things will last forever if you use them and take care of them properly. So with that being said, let's get into the actual recipe right now. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zest my lemon first. One trick I will teach everybody is when you do zest your lemon, try to zest it from the top. That way you can see what you're doing so that you don't go too far into the white part, the pith, because the white part is bitter and obviously you don't want bitter, you know, sauce in the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zest like maybe like a half of a lemon here real quick. And see, this thing works. That's why I love this thing. It's from Italy and just like one stroke and you get Pretty good, zesting action going on. So you just want a little bit of lemon zest in there, which kind of adds to the lemony flavor. Not a whole lot. And obviously use fresh lemons if you can, and wash them well before you do this whole process. Usually what I do is in my kitchen, whenever I come home from the market, that's the first thing I do is I wash all the stuff that I got at the market, let it sit like in a dish rack for a second, for like a day or like a half a day or whatever before I put it in the fridge. Because why do you want to put those dirty vegetables that other people have been touching straight into your fridge, right? So I wash it before I put it in the fridge. That way when I grab it, it's just ready to go. So as you can see, we did a good job at like zesting, and obviously I stopped like just before it hit the white part, the pith. So this is good and zested. I'm going to go ahead and throw this into my food processor. So here we go. Here's a little bit of that. So how much is that? Maybe like 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon if you really wanted to measure it out. So now what I need is 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So one trick I will tell everybody is you can either do this like over your measuring cup, or you can do it in a smaller bowl. Let me grab one. So here's a smaller little bowl. What I want to do is I need 1 tablespoon, which is basically about like a half a lemon, I would say. So using my chef knife, I'm just going to cut this. Right, I'm just going to cut this here, and then let's go ahead and use the Zule lemon juicer, citrus juicer. So I'm going to use the bigger setting. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to put it open side down as I squeeze. So what I want to do is I want to squeeze it into here, right? That way I have a bigger target, and I'm just going to press and squeeze. And obviously this thing is working amazingly. Look at the squeezing action that is going on. Just one little squeeze. Let's give it a good squeeze. Oy! Okay, so now that we've gotten it squozen, right? And what I'm looking for is I want to avoid the seeds, right? I don't want any seeds to be in the final juice. So as you can see here, it did a really good job at squeezing. This I will measure out just so I can show you. Let's see how close we nailed it. So I'm going to go ahead and pour and measure. Let's see here into my measuring cup, and pretty good, right? There's 1 tablespoon. I got a little bit left over, which is totally fine. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. And because I love throwing a little extra in, you know what? I'm going to throw this in here too. So maybe like a tablespoon and then like a little 1/4 of a teaspoon in there action. You get the idea. Okay, so here's this. I like to tidy as I go. So I'm just going to put these off to the side here real quick, just so I can show you all what else is going on. Okay, so now the rest of the recipe is pretty simple. So 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, right? You had the zest of about like 1 lemon or so, give or take. Now we're gonna put 2 tablespoons of horseradish. You can use prepared horseradish sauce. I'm not endorsing this brand in any way. This was on sale, right? So whatever you find on sale, just use it. So 2 tablespoons of horseradish sauce, 2 tablespoons of capers. Same thing. I'm not endorsing this brand in any way. Sadaf actually does have some pretty good stuff. But whatever brand of capers you like and you've used, go ahead and use those. So 2 tablespoons of horseradish, 2 tablespoons of capers, 2 tablespoons of red onion or shallot. You could use whatever floats your boat. Let me get this out of the way as well. Let's move that sucker off to the side. Okay, so red onion or shallot. What is 2 tablespoons? 2 tablespoons is also, give or take, around 1/4 of a cup. So whatever floats your boat. Okay, then garlic. Very important. I've done so many videos on this. When you buy your garlic, try to buy garlic that still has some of the root structure, right? See that root structure there? Let me turn this just so you can see it all. Make sure that it has a good root structure. If this is completely bare, odds are it came from China, which you don't want, because China, I'm not going to make any comments or anything, but you don't know what's going on over there, how they process their, whatever. And they also, the key telltale sign is that whenever this is polished, right? So there's no roots left. It's just like bare white. That's usually a sign that it came from far, far away, because they're trying to save on shipping costs by getting rid of this. So if you see this, if you see the root structure, odds are it's more locally grown, let's say, and it should be fresher. So that's another good sign. Okay, so there you go. So I need, give or take, around 3 cloves of garlic, like 3 solid cloves. I mean, we're talking like big, nice cloves of garlic. If you only have these little tiny ones or whatever, that's totally fine. Just try to see what tastes good to you. You know, put a couple in, taste it, see what it's like if you feel like it needs more. But this is going to give our sauce a nice punch, a nice brightness. You get the idea. And then what I need is I need a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. You could use regular salt. You just want to use less of it, right? So if you use kosher salt, it's a half teaspoon. If you're going to use regular salt, you want to use something like maybe in the ballpark of like a quarter of a teaspoon, because a little bit of salt goes a long way. And then at the very, very end, I'm going to drizzle in some olive oil. You could use, you know, whatever oil you like or you prefer. Avocado oil is pretty popular now. You could use that as well. You know, if you want to go with the whole like Latin theme, cilantro, avocado oil, be my guest. Or if you like it for health reasons or whatever, you could use coconut oil and make this like a tropical kind of a theme kind of sauce or whatever, you know, whatever floats your boat. But I will probably use somewhere in the ballpark of around a half a cup. Unlike the chimichurri, right? Chimichurri is very oily, and I'm not a fan of that. I want to taste the parsley and the horseradish and the capers more than I want my tongue to be drowned in olive oil. So that's why I use a little less olive oil to make it more like a relishy kind of a consistency versus being like, you know, spices and herbs that are drowned in oil. So that's why I'm only going to use about a half a cup of this. And then heat, right? Whatever kind of heat you like. Most of my guests that are coming tomorrow, this is Christmas Eve, and you can do this in advance. You can do this in about, you know, a day, 2 days, 3 days in advance. I wouldn't push more than 3 days, but you do want at least like a good, you know, amount of time to let all the flavors mingle together. But black pepper is in here. Basically, this is one of the better pepper grinders that I found that's pretty consistent. Some people hate it because it's slippery, but I love this thing. I always try to use like dry hands. Even with, you know, slippery hands, like oily hands, this thing still works for me. We'll probably show you some of that today. But the way you load this thing is you basically turn it to the side. You put your pepper in there. You could use a paper towel, make like a little funnel, or you can use an actual like, what are those things called? I'm going totally brain dead right now. Those funnel things. You could use a funnel to actually get your pepper in there, whatever floats your boat, and then basically you close this. And then when you turn this way. So it's almost impossible to open this unless you're going counterclockwise. But if you turn this and you go clockwise, you should have no issues. But anyways, pepper is just to taste. You know, maybe quarter of a teaspoon, give or take, somewhere around there. If you really want to go nuts, let me see if I can find it quickly. You can use red pepper flake, which I've reconstituted this Himalayan pink salt bottle with. But you could put a couple of red pepper flakes in there if you like the extra heat. Most of my guests are kind of like white people hot, so white people spicy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the pepper. Okay, so with that being said, let's start our measuring. In terms of the parsley cilantro combo, so I like to use a 50-50 blend of each. What I'm aiming for is around 1 cup after it's all been, you know, pre-chopped or whatever. Pack it into a cup, you know, like a loose pack, and you should have around a cup of parsley and cilantro, you know, 50-50 blend. If you only want to use cilantro, totally fine. If you only want to use the flat leaf parsley, that's totally fine. If all you have is regular parsley, that's fine too. You just want that grassy kind of a note. This is what helps gives the structure to the sauce, we're calling it as well. So anyways, here goes my zester. That's out of the way. And then let me go ahead and do some measuring. So let me go ahead and do this first. So 2 tablespoons of horseradish, right? I don't even think I've opened this yet. Yep, haven't even opened it yet. Or partially open. So here we go. So there's that. Let me throw this in the trash. Right? 1 hour to make a sauce. No, when you're doing this at home and you're not filming it, it'll probably be a lot faster. You can probably make this sauce in maybe like 5 minutes. But I do want 2 tablespoons of this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out this first because it's a little bit easier than to get everything else out. So what I want is I want 2 tablespoons of capers. I don't want too much of this juice right here. So basically what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to go, let me grab another little smaller spoon. Okay. So I'm going to use a spoon. I'm going to use a spoon to measure into the other spoon. But here we go. So I want, basically what I want is I want 2 tablespoons of this. And I do want a little bit of that liquid, but not too much. Let me go ahead and do some. By the way, now's a good time to hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you like what you're seeing. I like to try to do these videos in one take because I feel like it's more real and more honest. And you can, and if you're following along and you're screwing up the same way I am, you can, it gives you a chance to kind of watch what's going on without having to rewind. So there's 1 tablespoon that's going to go into the food processor, right? And then let me go ahead and measure out 1 more tablespoon. These are so awesome. These capers, like when you bite into them, there's like a nice little poppy little crunch going on here. Let me rearrange my camera a little bit. Yeah, so when you bite into these, like a chunk of caper, it's like an explosion in your mouth of just flavor that is unparalleled in any other way. And also when you bite into the onion too, same thing. Onion, shallot, whatever you want to use. You know, we're a very casual recipe kind of a thing on this channel. I mean, unless I'm baking, if I'm baking, then it's pretty much got to be precise. Okay, so that's about like 2 tablespoons, I'd say, give or take, right? So those are going to go in. If you want to use less, use less. If you want to use more, use more. You know, you'll kind of explore your own taste buds and your own flavor profile of whatever floats your boat. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this last because this is gonna like smear the whole inside of the spoon, and I'm gonna do this last. But with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get our garlic in there. So 3 cloves of garlic, right? Nice size cloves of garlic. I'm gonna go ahead and give these a good hit. Right back of the knife. See if you notice, I'm lifting up my fingers so fingers don't get stuck in there. And then let me go ahead and do some peeling here. You know, I tried the whole, like, some people said, like, you can put these into a bowl and then shake them and then the peels just come right off. No, that's a myth. That's a total myth. Never worked for me ever. This is the best way that I found that works where I can actually peel my garlic. So I actually have it, let's see. I actually got a 2-in-1 here, which is totally fine. What I'm trying to get at is now I have 4 cloves of garlic instead of 3, which is totally fine. I like garlic. I think my guests will like the garlicky flavor. By the way, anti-vampire, you know, if you're gonna be, you know, doing this kind of thing, it's always a good idea to follow this up with maybe some like sorbet or granita or something that has like a lemony kind of ice creamy kind of a texture to it. See this bottom part here? That's what I want to break off. I'm gonna break it off just so you know, you don't get that into the final mix. Make sure you try to do, you know, as best a job as you can as cleaning out your garlic. But anyways, if you are going to do something like this sauce, it's always a really, really, really good idea to follow it up with like some lemon sherbet, lemon sorbet. That way you help your guests to, you know, clean their palates. It's kind of like a refreshing kind of a thing after dinner. But also at the same time, your guests aren't going to kill each other with each other's breath. You know, what's the rule if you're on a date? If you order fish, or if the other person orders fish, make sure you order fish, just to make it fair for everybody in the final. Oh, I guess we're getting 2-for-1s here. So here we go. So here's 5 cloves of garlic. Like I said, I'm going to break off that little stem part right there. There goes that. Here goes our peel. Like I said, I like doing this in real time because that way you can all see, you know, what's actually the process here. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so we're pretty good. So all I want to do is just kind of give this like a little bit of like a rough chop. Right, so that when it goes into the blender, it's a little easier to blend and smooth in there. But there you go. There's that. So now our garlic's going into the party. There you go. Garlic's going in. Okay, now the red onion. So I only need 2 tablespoons of this, which is probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 1/3 of this onion, let's say. So for now, I'll just cut it in half. Let's use the smaller one. So that'll be roughly about like 2 tablespoons, give or take. And then cleaning, just basically go here. I like to leave the end on while I'm chopping, just so it stays together better, I guess. And then let me go ahead and toss this. Tidy as you go. Tidy as you go. It goes a long way. So what I want to do now is I want to peel off this outer layer right here. Let's see. And like I said, I usually, when I come back from the market, I like to wash these right away. And I'll take off like 1 full layer just to make sure I've gotten all that, you know, all that excess dirt off, whatever was in there. You know, you get the idea. Okay. So now we got this going. I got this. Throw this away. Hitting that like button. Okay. So just a rough chop, right? Because the food processor is going to do a lot of the work for us. So I just want to give it like a nice rough chop. And when I get down to about right here is where I'll stop. And I would say, you know, just by eyeballing this, I would say that's about 2 tablespoons. Right? So if you want to know what 2 tablespoons is, that's like 1, 2, maybe 1 and 2, and maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. This one I might leave out, you know, just for posterity's sake. Okay, so these all go in. There's another view of our 2 tablespoons of red onion, shallot, whatever you want to use. You know, give or take, just so you kind of know. There you go. There's 2 tablespoons. Okay, so that goes into the party. Okay, now let's do the flat leaf parsley, and then we'll do the cilantro. So basically, I've already washed this. I've got it sitting in a glass, basically like a glass jar. And as you can see, I try not to fill up the water all the way. I just fill up the water maybe like halfway, right, in the glass. So that way the roots are down, or the base of the cilantro is down there, or the flat leaf parsley, same scenario. But also at the same time, there you go, there's a better shot of it. So that way at the same time, like, you're not just drowning your stems with water. So that's a good idea. So let's go ahead and do the flat leaf parsley. I'm going to take probably most of this out, stems and all, right? If you want to trim this up and go ahead and trim this, you totally can. But I just like stems and all. What I do is I fold it in half. This method seems to work the best for me. And the stem part is also going to give you some texture, some crunch, right? Hear that crunch? ASMR action going on, right? Now let's get this out of there. So now what I've got here is I've got, give or take, this is about a half of a cup. So here's our 1 cup measurement. If I throw this all in here, right, it's about like a half a cup, give or take. Did I do that right? I think so. You know, if you like what you're seeing, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. But anyways, there's about a half a cup. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a half a cup of the cilantro, beautiful cilantro. By the way, for leaf structure, if you want to see the difference between the two, that's cilantro over here. This is flat leaf parsley over here. So you can see the difference in the leaves, right? This tends to have like more of like a darker green. This has like, the cilantro has more of a pale green. The flat leaf parsley has more of like a darker green. But this combination together in this sauce is just absolutely amazing. So I just need a half a cup of this. I would say this is about going to be like around a half a cup or so. Same thing. If it's a little too stemmy for you, you can always like break off a little bit. But you know, whatever floats your boat. To me, this is about the right amount. That's probably going to be about a half a cup when it's all said and done. So again, I folded it in half, right, and then just a coarse, loose chop to make sure that, you know, I got most of that in there. There might be a little bit more cilantro than there was parsley, which is totally fine. But basically 1 cup. That's basically what you're after, what you're going for. You know, you kind of get the idea. So 1 cup of parsley and cilantro combination goes in there. Okay, so that's that. So now I can get my towel. My towel is. Some things I just never do correctly. Let's see. Okay, towel. Always have a good set of kitchen towels on hand, just so you can wipe your hands, or paper towels. You know, paper towels work wonder. Whatever works for you. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my 2 tablespoons of horseradish. We're almost at the finish line here. So let's go ahead and put this in there. There's 1. Right here's gonna be number 2. Horseradish or horseradish sauce. This is a heaping, right? Because I like it a little extra. You know, a little extra kicky, I should say. And you can use either a spoon or, you know, I would use my finger normally, but this is, you know, primetime television here, right? So I'm going to do this as cleanly as I can. But no, I'm sure at home you're just going to use your finger, which is, you know, let's be real. Why can't people just be real anymore? God damn it. Okay, so last thing is we want to use a half teaspoon. Where are we? Right here. Half a teaspoon of kosher salt. If you're going to be using, remember, if you're going to be using regular table salt, just use somewhere in the ballpark of like an eighth, right? 1/4 teaspoon, use an eighth, right? Is that an eighth? No. If you're going to be using a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, use a 1/4 teaspoon of regular table salt, because kosher salt has more volume by weight. That's the reason why you want to use half as much if you're only using table salt. So here we go. There's a half. Try to measure this out if you can. There is a half a teaspoon of kosher salt that's going in there. There we go. And a little crack of pepper, right? Getting that in there. Don't want to put too much in, right? White people spicy. There you go. Okay, I think I got it all, right? Let me just look at the damage. What did we do? We did 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, right, with the zest of the lemon. Sorry. So 1 tablespoon 1 tablespoon. These are all bloopers that are going in the blooper reel, by the way. Okay, so one tablespoon of lemon juice with the zest of 1 lemon that went in there, right? 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Then I got 2 tablespoons of horseradish. Then I have 2 tablespoons of capers, right? Then I have capers. Then I have 2 tablespoons of red onion that went in there. Then I had 3 or 4 cloves of garlic that went in there. Always remember to try to use the freshest garlic that you possibly can. Then I put in quarter teaspoon of, a half a teaspoon of salt. Use a 1/4 teaspoon of regular salt. So it's one or the other, not both, right? 1 teaspoon of, is that what it was? No, it was a half a teaspoon of kosher salt or a 1/4 teaspoon of table salt, one or the other. Okay, then I put in some cracked pepper, and then I've got 1 cup total of flat leaf parsley and cilantro. Or if you want to use only cilantro, just put it in a cup. If you want to use only flat leaf parsley, put in 1 cup of that. There you go. There's the basic recipe. Now what I'm going to do, and then I put some black pepper in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on. I am absolutely batty today. I promise you, I'm not a drinker. I'm not a smoker. I don't do drugs. I don't know why I'm loopy. I'm just loopy today. Loopy! Okay, so here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pulse, and we'll see how the sauce comes together. And then that's when I'm going to add the olive oil in. And I'm just going to add about a half a cup of olive oil. The reason why I want to pulse is because I don't want it to get too fine. I want it still to have a little bit of texture. So we're just going to pulse. So that was 8 pulses. Let's go for 10. Okay, so that's 10 pulses. And what you noticed on that 10th pulse was that it wasn't really moving around anymore, right? It's kind of stuck to the walls. That's how I know when it's time to add in the olive oil. And what I want to do now is, this is a little too textury. So what I want to do now is just, oh my God, the smell. Wow. That smell is so amazing. Like I said, I can put this on some garlic bread or just regular toast, like sourdough bread. Oh my God, it just exemplifies the flavor. But that is give around the texture that I want, maybe another few more pulses or so. But at this point, I want to add in the olive oil. The reason why I'm putting in the olive oil kind of like towards the end of the process is because the more you the more that you process the olive oil in the food processor, the bitter, ironically, I think it's the aeration process, the bitter the final sauce will become. Also, you're generating heat every time you go ahead and pulse. So basically what this is doing is you're cooking the olive oil, which also adds to the bitterness. So what I want to do is I just want to put in, give or take, around like a half a cup. I find like a few passes, here and there. Something like this should be okay. And then in case I'll add a little bit more after. So what I want to do is I want to get my lid back on, go ahead and twist. And then again, maybe like 2 or 3 more pulses. So 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5 for good measure. This is perfect. To me, this is the perfect sauce right here. What you can do if you want just a little more, see the consistency there? Let me go ahead and pull some of this out so you can all see it. The smell is just incredible. Oh my God. But see the consistency? It's chunky. You're going to get a nice bite of red onion, but not too big, right? You're going to get a nice bite of those capers as well. Not too much. I'm going to go ahead and use that spoon again. Let's see if I can find it. Normally I would use my fingers, but I'm going to go ahead and use the spoon right here just to show you all what the texture looks like. As you can see right there. See, you've got little chunks and things. If you want this smoother, if you want it more refined, let's say, what I would do is before you added the olive oil in, just scrape down the sides of the bowl and just let it pulse for a little more. Or just turn it on to full blown, like, food processing mode or whatever, and just let it go until it reaches the thinness or the fineness that you like. Then when you add your olive oil, just give it like 4 or 5 pulses, and you should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and taste this just to taste it. Absolutely. Oh my God. It's bright. It's fresh. There's punch. There's kick. Definitely, it's sour. It's tangy. It's flavorful. I'm getting a whole lot of goodness out of this. And this to me is ready to serve. So it's kind of like a relish, I guess, kind of consistency to it, right? And it's obviously it's smooth and it's coarse and it's got texture and it's got bite and it's got structure. It's just absolutely amazing. Anyways, with that being said, I am the old coot asking you all to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button down there below. This video has gone way past where it should go. It should have gone. But with that being said, there are links in the description section to the cool stuff that I used today. Thank you to Zule for this beautiful lemon lime squeezer, which we tested out on this show today on this product. And make sure to check out this company if you like them. I'll put a link down below there in the description. And here's some more of the box and the packaging. By the way, you do also get, where are they? Here we go. So you do also get these cards that come with the Zule lemon lime squeezer, right? You get this one, they're 100% money back guarantee and all the good stuff. Here's the back of the card if you want to go ahead and check that out. There's also this card in there, stop, like we can help you, you know, do not return. Like they'll kind of give you some instructions to help you out on the phone or whatever it is. Phone number, right? Website. Email, all that good stuff, so you get the idea. Anyways, if you do like what you're seeing, hit that like button, hit the, right, give me a big thumbs up, give me a subscribe button down there below. Check out the description section if you have any comments about anything that we've done today. If you've tried this recipe, right, and you've gone ahead and gone through the whole video and you've made this probably better than I did in the video, then go ahead and comment in the comment section down there below, and I will catch you all on the next exciting video.